Hello, students. This is the homework and ask me anything questions. I have 23 questions from you. So I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as possible so the video isn't too long. Sorry, I don't have a video today. I have a new antivirus and it's decided that my video camera is a threat. So that's the reason why it's not working at the moment. Okay, question number one comes from Andres Otero. Why did you come to live in Ecuador? I was traveling, basically. I was bored in England. I wanted to travel around the world, didn't have enough money to actually go traveling to hotels and stuff. So I thought I would teach when I arrived. And then teaching, just looked online, jobs teaching English. Ecuador came up on Google. And that's the reason why. Not a very interesting story. I'm sorry. Also not a very interesting question, to be fair. Next one comes from Kendra. How many cats do you have? Tell me how you got the first one. 6 cats at the moment. Pesadija, Claudia, Leo, Mowgli, Pookie, and Sooty. Brilliant, love cats. First cat I had actually has died now. Her name was Sisa. We found her. She was someone just chucked her on the street, her and her brother, who we called Johnny. We gave Johnny to the neighbor and we kept Sisa. She only lived to be about a year and a half. Because some dickhead gave her poison. But she was a lovely little girl. But I love cats, I love dogs, I love animals, etc. Next question comes from Roberto. Let's go for this one. Fast. Say 3 things you would bring to a desert island. Could be anything, but not anybody. Okay, telephone in that case, because if it's anything. A telephone, but I would need to have signal. I'm assuming this desert island has internet. And I have free Wi-Fi. If I have a telephone, then I can speak to my wife and my dogs and my cats, which is all I can. I can still do classes via Zoom with you guys. So telephone, number 1. Number 2, I think I would need a bed. I'm not a big fan of sleeping on things that aren't beds. And number 3, don't know, a chair? No, I can sit on the beach. Quickly. Telly? No, I don't watch the telly. A computer, telephone. Oh, that's a difficult question. I don't know. My dogs. They don't count as anybody. Excellent question. Jorge, let's go for the second one. Which country would you like to visit? I have been lucky enough to visit 15, I think, countries. The ones that I would still like to visit are in Africa. So in Tanzania, Botswana, they're next on my list, I think. Next one, Melanie says, we've got a few here. Well, number 1, teacher has been very difficult to learn English. For me, learning English was easy. What countries do you know? Well, that one kind of fits from the previous question. Trying to remember them all straight away. England, Scotland, Wales, France, Holland, Spain, Italy, Tunisia, America, Mexico, Canada, Ecuador, Peru, Dubai, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. I learned to swim in Singapore. Yeah, those. I'm probably missing 1 or 2, but Mauritius, probably missing 1 or 2, but they're the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Next question comes from Donato. What is the most difficult thing in your profession? We will have a look at. The most difficult thing in my profession, I don't know if it's the most difficult, but the most frustrating thing is when you have students who are really intelligent and naturally good at English and are lazy. So I think the guys from Puyo, one of your classmates from law, I won't say his name, it's probably not really fair, but he's so good at English. He picks it up so quickly. He likes to speak. This guy should be speaking perfect English by now, but he keeps failing semesters because he just doesn't do his work. And it's so frustrating because he should have finished English by now. So maybe he's older than you. He should have finished English by now, but because he's so lazy, he hasn't finished English. And it's like, he's going to leave university after paying thousands of dollars to English and he's not going to speak English because he's so lazy. And that is the most difficult thing, accepting that some students just refuse to learn. Sol says, ooh, if you could change something in your life, what would you change? Oh, probably like to be a millionaire, change my bank balance. Yeah, that's probably fair enough. Also, I'd like to be thin again, like I was when I started university. Darwin says, what do you miss most about your native country? Wait, hang on, I haven't seen this question. What is your frustrated dream apart from having a bushy beard? I don't have a bushy beard. I wouldn't want to have a beard. What do you miss most about your native country? The food, definitely the food. A lot of people say British food is not good, but I think it is because it's my food. It's from my country. So maybe it's not good quality, but I miss it and I like it a lot. So the food, definitely. Next question comes from Peter. Currently, what motivates you to continue living? Wow. Well, I've got to teach you guys. That's what motivates me. So what do you think of students? Are there stereotypes personality repeated in each of them? There's some good questions here. What do you think of your students? Are the stereotypes of personality repeated in each of them? No, but there are groups of students. There are students that want to learn English because they want to learn. Great, fantastic. There are students that maybe wouldn't choose to learn English, but because they're forced to learn English, they want to, and they do it and they work hard. I don't know, that's not really stereotypes though. Peter, I'm gonna have maybe we can have a conversation about this. I'm not gonna do this question because I can't think of a good answer at the moment. What is your concept of what is right and what is wrong? That is a good question. And I think everyone has a different concept of what is right and what is wrong. I think I'm a good person generally. I think I try not to do anyone any harm, apart from people I don't like. Maybe that's not correct, but whatever. If there's someone I don't like, if there's a bad person, I will do what I can to piss that person off. But yeah, I think right and wrong, so long as you're not hurting anyone, you're fine. Do what you think is right, so long as you're not hurting anyone, and that's all you can ask for. Every day can get boring. Every day can get boring, yes. Especially working from home. Who are you now and who would you like to be? Oh, Peter, let's have this could be a whole hour's class, so I'm going to move on, but Peter, we'll have a chat about these. Joel, are you alone or married? Married. 8 years. Recent 8 years? No, 6 years. Recently had a wedding anniversary. Liz, do you think having children damages your relationship? Why? Excellent question. I don't have children, so I can't say yes or no, but I would say it definitely has the potential to damage a relationship because of course things change. What are the things that damages relationships most? Number one, money. Babies are expensive. If you have less money, you get more stress and you get more arguments. Number two, lack of sleep. Obviously, babies don't sleep and they wake you up and blah, blah, blah. And number three, thinking you're doing more than the other person. So I would imagine having a baby has a big potential to damage a relationship. But not always. Not always. I'm sure it can work. Next question. Frio. Will you stay in Ecuador forever? Don't you miss your family? I won't stay in Ecuador forever. Yes, I miss my family. My plan is to move back to England at some point fairly soon no, not fairly soon, but in the next couple of years to go and earn some money and then maybe come back and live in Ecuador in the future. Because the one good thing about England is you have got a lot more money there. So I could go to England, earn 5 times what I'm earning at the moment, save up some money, buy a house, come back. Next question is from Leslie Oh, my battery is running low. Ross, are you married? I am. How long have you lived here in Puyo Pastaza? 8 years, I think, pretty much. I charge my. Yep. Next one, Huckabird. What other profession would you practice if you were not a teacher? I was, before I came here, a salesperson. I worked in sales. So I would probably have worked in that. However, I had two bosses. One of them was brilliant, and I really liked him. And one of them was an absolute moron. So he would have probably fired me by now. So I don't know. Just in case you misunderstood that, I'm not talking about my current bosses. I'm talking about previous bosses. What was your reaction when you arrived in Ecuador? I hated it. Seriously, I did not like it. I was so unhappy. The first day, probably not even 24 hours, probably about 18 hours, I really did not like it. I arrived to this horrible little room in Puyo and lied on my bed, cockroaches running around. And I thought, how can I escape this? What am I doing? So I decided on the first day that I was going to stay for 2 or 3 months and then say, oh no, I've got a problem with the visa. I have to go back home. Oh no. And I thought, okay, I can do 2 months, just pretend it's prison. Anyway, so that was the first day. And then I had to sleep, woke up and thought, okay, well, if I'm here for 2 months, 3 months, I may as well enjoy it. So I went and sorted out my bedroom, killed the cockroaches and all of that. And then after a couple of days, I was like, oh, okay, Ecuador is brilliant. But the first day, my very first reaction was not good. Emilio. Do you think that coming to live here was the best option for you and your life expectations? Yeah. So two things here. Best option for me, yes, I do. I think my personality suits very much the Ecuador lifestyle. Worked well, and I've obviously met my wife, so yes. My life expectations, though, when I moved here when I was 23, I didn't expect that I would be. I wanted to be a millionaire, but I'm not. So yes, best option. Life expectations, no, probably not. But my life expectations have changed now. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy in my job. I'm happy with my house. Happy with my dog. So my life expectations have changed. Georges, do you prefer to live here or in your country? Why? Ecuador. I live here because I prefer it. There are things I like a lot about England, but Ecuador, I think. I tell you what, yesterday I was in Puerto Santana, having a drink there with some friends next to the river. There were some other people drinking there, and they said, oh, we have a canoe. Do you want to go on a canoe? I said, yeah, sure. So we went on the canoe, went up and down the river, all of that, had some beer on the river. Perfect. You can't do that in England. Next one, Christian Carillo. What has been your most unpleasant experience as a teacher? Well, before I started in CTT, on the under CTT, I worked for a different company, a new company it was an English academy in Puyo. Now, there are some very good English academies in Puyo, and there are some very bad ones. And I accidentally worked for a very bad one because it looks good, but it was a con Mustafa, with the worst person I have ever met in my life as a boss. Seriously. She's actually threatened to sue me, do an Amanda, for defamation. But I told her that fuck off because it's not defamation if everything is true. And I have evidence. Well, no. So that was my most unpleasant experience, accidentally working for an awful person. And do you miss your family and friends? Family, yeah, I do. Definitely miss my family, but I speak to my mum every day. Friends, not so much with friends. So I've got a lot of friends, but I don't know. I've often moved houses, moved to a different city for university, and then came back and came to Ecuador and blah, blah, blah. Friends have moved away. So it's not that weird for me that I don't see my friends. And whenever I go back to England, I go straight and it's all normal again. So no, friends not so much. I've got more friends here. Better friends. Next one, Ronnie. What do you dislike about being a teacher? Well, I mentioned earlier students that don't listen, or students that waste their potential. There are some students that genuinely are not that great at English, and it's not their fault. They really try. I don't mind that. That's fine. There are some students, though, who are naturally very good at English and naturally can do it, but just don't. Literally just don't do it. So that's what I dislike about being a teacher. That and lesson planning. Next one, Jocelyn. What do you think about religion? I am not religious. However, I have no problem with religion. Well, yeah, I have no problem with anything like that. It's just not for me. But I live in a place that's not very religious at all. So. I think religion's okay. The problem is there are a lot of bad people that do go into religion, and some bad people are religious because it suits them, because they can just say, oh, I'm not a bad person. I'm religious. I go to church. So no, you're still a bad person. So that's my problem with it, religion as a whole. But the idea of it, I've got no problem. What do you think about the women in Ecuador? My wife is a woman from Ecuador, so I think I have to say very good. What do you think about the system of education here in Ecuador? It's okay. I think the problem is there's a mentality that everyone wants to get 10 out of 10, and they don't care if they get 10 out of 10 by cheating or having their parents do the work or anything. They care about 10 out of 10. I see kids 7, 8 years old that the parents do the homework so the kids can get a 10. The kids don't learn anything. So what is the bloody point? So that's my big issue. I think it needs to have a mentality change, that it should be about learning and not about the 10. So I actually think forget all exams. Before, I don't know, let's say 12 years old, there should be no exams, at least in English. I think this is the last question. Why did you decide to come and live in Ecuador? Well, that's strange. That was the first question and the last question. Traveling was the answer. I don't think there's any more. There is not. Okay, very good. Stop recording.